Support for this show, Politics Done Right, comes from politicsdoneright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It, As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom, It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto, Willies. Welcome to Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto, Willies, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the great state of Texas. Good morning to the entire United States of America. Good morning to the entire world receiving our signals via the magic of El Internet, formerly known as the Alphanet, created by whom? We the people, now controlled by the billionaires who had little to do with its inception, who had little to do with the intellect necessary to create it, but as any parasite would do, would base their life off of taking the life out of those who created it. Anyhow, without further ado, let's go to the studio with El Señor Howard Reynolds, Jack Van Beber, and back in the house is the one and only Mayana. Buenos dias, mi gente. Good morning, my people.
Good morning. Thank you for that introduction.
Good morning, Egberto.
Good morning.
Howard's in his lair.
He's in his box. I see. Well, Howard, how you doing, buddy? Anyway, what's up? What's up, Jack?
All right. Here's your headlines and a little comment. MAGA is in for a shock as they find out their Obamacare subsidies are gone, causing their health care to double. Congressional Budget Office shows that Trump law will add $3.4 trillion to the deficit and boot 10 million people off their health care insurance, as the big boneheaded bill will cost more than it saves. Who loses? Working families. Looks like the people are being put into a world of hurt by billionaires who are insensitive, arrogant, and selfish. People, you have the power of the purse, and you can decide what you'll pay for or not. That's the power the citizen has. If the cost of insurance is too much, stop paying it. The people and stop paying the people and the institutions that are enslaving you. That's the main theme that I think of sometimes is, man, if they're costing you your life and you got to make decisions about taking care of your children versus paying your insurance, if the insurance is just too high, it's just too high. So anyway, that's your power of the purse. I know it's a sacrifice to make, but I think things will happen if enough people were to do that.
I love that, Jack, because at some point we're going to have to get bold. When you say that, the first thing that comes to mind, right, is, look, when I was growing up, and I'm sure likely most of us were growing up, we learned how to follow the rules. And the rules say, if you take out a loan, you pay it back. The rules say if you respect your elders. The rules say you honor, you cherish others as you cherish yourself. You honor others as you honor yourself. Those are the kind of good rules that we learn to live by. But the people that are most going ahead and enforcing those rules, one of the things that we never noticed was that they never lived by those rules. Pay your bills, right? Pay your bills, Jack. Pay your bills. You took them out.
They want you to be a lamb, so when they come to take from you, you don't suffer.
Yeah, right. But I was trying to get a little bit funny here when I shouted "pay your bills," and let me tell you what I mean by that. Right? We, the regular American citizen, we must pay our bills. We took it out. We signed that contract. But when it comes to corporations, when it comes to big business, etc., they do all kinds of things, many a times knowing that they can't, pay for it or whatever. And what they do is they just let it go. And the laws create avenues for these guys to do bankruptcies, a type of bankruptcy the average American citizen couldn't take. And they get away with it and they move on and they form other corporations or other entities. Donald Trump has hundreds of companies. I'm just using him as a poster boy right now. And this is not what I'm speaking about today, but you kind of tickled my fancy, Jack, like you always do. You mess with the program, Jack.
Darn it.
Mess with the program, Jack. But anyway,
Darn it.
Darn it is right. But anyhow, so, Donald Trump had over 6 bankruptcies, or I think it's 6 bankruptcies he had. And he never lost the ability to recover and be a billionaire, etc. And that's because there are 2 economies here. There's a slave economy, and then there's the master economy. It sounds crude, after all. Wasn't slavery ended a long time ago, all the way from the bottom of Chile and Argentina, all the way up to Canada, all across the Caribbean? Didn't that end? No, the slavery never ended. We just had the illusion of it ending. The only difference here is where slavery used to be enforced with a whip. Slavery used to be enforced with the visuals of slavery used to be bodies of a darker hue, like mine. To my beautiful white audience, I want to welcome you to slavery. The outcomes, let me tell you something, and this gets a lot of people upset when I say it, but when slavery solely looked, or the implication of slavery looked like me, you could detach yourself from it. You could say, well, at least that's not me. But the interesting thing about when slavery looked like me is that in those times, that the source of production, the slave, actually was clothed, had health care to some extent, was fed, etc. Why? Because at that point, slavery was done in a form called property. And you know what the bastions of capitalism care the most about? Capital. Capital, you don't want to lose your capital, because if you lose your capital, you lose something. So you didn't want to, it's okay to abuse the slave to the point, but not let them die. And you only let that slave die as an example to protect the others, right? In other words, you don't want to spoil apple in a barrel because it spoils the whole barrel. So if you have that slave that was too much trouble, that one it was okay to kill because you wanted to have it maintained just right. So, but ultimately, you wanted to control your property. Well, eventually slavery got outlawed, but it only got outlawed when it wasn't needed anymore. It was never maintained because it was still needed. After all, around the Americas, and we concentrate a whole lot about this in the United States of America, but it's all over the world, right? From the bottom of Chile, Argentina, Uruguay, Paraguay, Ecuador, everywhere. And by the way, that these are people now in these times that are finally starting to tell their histories now. But the insidiousness of capitalism really found a better way. And it said, you know what? Why make people capital as opposed to making them expedient, making them not necessary? And that's where my white brothers and sisters come in. Hey, Jack, welcome to slavery, my white brother. That is where it comes in. All right? Because now they figured out something. If I can if I can create the new structure called the employee at the behest of the corporation, and I make that employee expendable, meaning, hey, I don't have to give health care. Hey, I don't have to give any services whatsoever, because if I don't own that property anymore, I just rent it. You'll hear economists like, and by the way, I love this economist. I put him on. I'm gonna have him on the radio likely on Friday. He always called this a rentier economy. I don't have to do it anymore. I just go ahead and rent your services. It's called the employee. If I'm nice as a corporation, I may give you health care, which is what the deal was. You may get health care, but I constantly take it away, etc. If I need to make a bit more profit or whatever, but I create the corporation, I create the employee. I'm no longer responsible for that employee like I was responsible for the slave. And when things go bad, I just let go the employee. I don't have anything else to worry about. I don't have to feed him. I don't have to clothe him. I don't have to worry about any of that thing. If he gets sick, go die, I just get the next employee. No attachments at all to the employee. But then I make it look like it's a choice. You have a choice to go ahead and work for Corporation A, Corporation B, Corporation C. And sometimes Corporation A, B, and C all get together to make sure that all of these corporations are in concert to not give you too much, so that at least they remain sourced with you, the cog, not the slave, what I call now the antiseptic slave. Right? All of us, folks, all of us in the same boat right now. But eventually people smarten up and people start to realize, why is it that I do all the work, this guy that does no work, or this person who buys fractional capital? What is fractional capital? That thing called a stock, right? A piece of companies. All those people that can afford to buy fractional capital, right? They make all the monies from my labor, from the labor of the antiseptic slave. But I do all the work. You, all of us do all the work, all the thinking. We create. Elon Musk is a multi-billionaire that can't do a damn thing. Elon Musk doesn't know how to program a computer. Elon Musk doesn't know engineering to put a satellite in space, to put a rocket in space. Yet you listen to the TV screens, and every time SpaceX bring a spaceship back and it's held by the thongs and it looks like great engineering, he gets the kudos for something he knows nothing about. But he had the capital to invest in the slaves who had the intellect to develop it, create it, etc. We reward all the wrong people. We reward, and I have some people who said that is rich envy. No, it's not. It is hoping that people understand the economic system, how it actually functions. And this is from the inception of our country. It was always preserving a particular class. Or everybody always talk about the North and the South was slavery, and the North, somehow they were the benevolent part. No, they weren't. They just run, to put it bluntly, and a lot of folks are going to get mad at this. To put it bluntly, a lot of times the North took advantage of the South because, again, the South took all the dirty names for having slavery, while the North profited from it as it sold its cotton and was the mercantiles and mercantiers and all these. But, you don't learn that in school. You learned about the glory, glory, hallelujah, and how great things were because they wrote the history. They wrote the history that told you that you were free. They wrote the history that told you had choice. Even today, One of the reasons they don't want you to have Medicare for all is because they said you lose choice. If you don't have Medicare for all, you have to pick between Cigna, you have to pick between all the other Humana, all the other private insurance companies, right? As an employee, you have to pick between all the different companies, right? That's how they express it. You have the freedom to do that. What they're telling is you have the freedom to choose your enslaver. They all treat you the same in the aggregate, but you have the freedom to choose which one you want to ill-treat you. I know I'm speaking in sort of a negative word. You know, you go to a company in a skyscraper and you have your suit on and everybody goes out to lunch and everything looks nice. That's the facade. That's not the internal makings of how it works. Because as soon as something is broken, like what the big, beautiful bill is going to break, you start to see the pain, right? And why is there the big, beautiful bill? Because those on top, those that do no work, those that do nothing, they decide they need to make more. And the only way to make more is to take it away from you. Because we are in a position called end state capitalism or end stage capitalism. Eventually, when you take more of the share of an economy that's not commensurate with what you've worked for and with your population, meaning the upper class, you have to take it from all the rest. I know this is kind of macabre, but here's the thing, folks. It doesn't have to stay this way, because we can all choose to be critical thinkers. The reason why the attack is on books, the reason why the attack is on critical thinking, is they don't want you thinking, because you will always ask the question, why is it that and the simple question, why is it that I'm doing all the work and someone else gets the spoil? You know, I remember when Gordon Gekko of the Wall Street program said, greed is good. What he meant is greed for the muddied class is good, because most people in the world, most Americans aren't greedy. If they were, you couldn't have an upper class, because if most Americans were greedy, they wouldn't allow others to be greedy, because they'll be right there taking it from them. Most Americans are good people. Most people around the world are good people. Unfortunately, there's this stuff in our brains, and I think I suffered from it as well at one time. And that is to believe that somehow another person with some defined being can somehow be deserving of something you're not. All right, let's go. Donald, come on in, line one. I haven't started my program.
On. You're spot. Yeah, you're spot on this morning. See, I had a problem one time, or the people had a problem with me. I got up in a meeting and I explained to the workers that my job is to get the most out of you for the least amount of money, and your job should be to get the most amount of money for the least amount of work.
Amen.
Now, once we have that understanding, we can work together, because both of us have needs. So that's when you look at the straw bosses of today, or the managers, the supervisors, and the chiefs are the same. There's not enough Indians anymore, because the Indians aren't getting paid enough. And all the chiefs get to tell everybody what to do and get all this luxury life, but that's all to go to a board, to go to the CEO, to the board, to the shareholders, and everything else. We're in a exact same slavery system that we were in without an input. And that's just the way the world works. And until we change it, because people should have a choice to be able to go to work, make a livable wage, input, and if they choose to go there, that's good. But we're losing that because there's no other options, and we can't keep recirculating this worthless dollar, because if we don't produce anything the world needs, our dollar is becoming more worthless, and as corporations buy up all the housing and everything else, so we need to change the laws. And it's going to have to happen pretty quick because we're just falling further and further behind. And you can't squeeze the blood out of a turnip, and the turnip's pretty much dehydrated. So, but yeah,
Amen.
you're right on what you're talking about.
Donald, I'm glad you said that. And you brought up a subject that I want to tell people real quick. Donald just spoke about corporation buying up homes. You know, we talk a lot about a home shortage, etc. A lot of our home shortage is because of exactly what Donald just said. Corporations are starting to buy up a whole lot of single homes and just leaving them on the market or taking them off of the market to create a shortage of homes. When you have a shortage of homes, the price of rents go up, which is exactly what's happening. All the bad things that are happening in the economy today are created by our economic system that allows this kind of thing to happen. So when Donald says the only solution is to pass laws that protect against that, but when the corporation, all right, when the politicians are owned by the corporations and not by us. And by the way, we can own politicians. I know a lot of progressives and others that are running who want to do what is right. We just don't elect them. We elected Trump. We just don't elect them. We elected a whole lot of folks who are not deserving of the job. Thank you very much, my dear brother Donald. Anything else you want to say real quick?
Well, a lot of the true-born leaders get manipulated out of the system at a very early age. And for people out there that figure that they never fit in or they were always targeted, the reason is because you have your own brain and you do your own thinking. And the school systems and the legal system and everything else is set to get you out of it. So that way they can mark you at an early age and you will never be heard from. That's all I got to say.
You nailed it, brother. Thank you for the call, Donald. LBW, welcome aboard. You too, brother. From our Substack, Kay, remember I missed the first few dozen, but Gay Lacunis, welcome. Cat LBW says, as our wise indigenous people asserted, only when the last tree has been cut down, the last fish has been caught, and the last stream poisoned, will we realize we cannot eat money. Oh, wow. LBW, I love that. But you know what? That is what critical thinking is supposed to solve, that we don't have to wait for that eventuality. We, the people, must stand and make them realize that we are the power. Greed is the root of all evil and destruction, says LBW. Welcome, Elizabeth Conrad. March KJ says, too many people are just too lazy to think and act. John A. Diane, welcome. Diane L. Wright, Art, Christine, Bernie Dooley, Lisa, Rosanne, and in our other chat, we've got Lisa Blair from Atlanta, Georgia, Joanne from Los Angeles, California, Julie the Bearcat from Austin, Texas. You know, one of the things that I hope to do with with this program, and not only this program, right? Because this program is just an expansion of a lot of writing, a lot of books, and all that stuff that I kind of put together. Is one small cog that I hope a lot of other people with platforms, a lot of other influencers, a lot of other folks put out there, because a network of people doing this good thing is what it takes. Late last night, I was on a call. I got invited on to be on that committee that's convening the 30th anniversary of the Million Man March. And one of the things that I pointed out is we have to start listening to our Gen Z folks, because, you know, they get it. A lot of us are stuck into the the master-slave relationship, the employee-corporation relationship, etc. Let's not keep repeating the same things over and over again. And what I love about our younger generation is they've had it. Roland Martin interviewed a young kid out of Atlanta, I think it was. And this guy said he gave up on electoral politics. And Roland Martin got mad and tried to make the guy look like he was just a loser. Turned out This kid says, I am not asking these folks to do anything anymore. You guys just have these elections, etc. I have a school. I built a school. Not only did I build a school, I'm educating men. We are releasing educated high schoolers. We go to the community and we get contributions from companies, local companies, etc. And this school has produced, and he talked about how much school has produced. And I kept on thinking, and I said, is that the answer though? But to the kid, I can say this kid got up. He pulled his pants up and he went and he did. When I say kid, the guy was about 25 years old, and he got these things going and he did something. But as opposed to attacking this guy for saying I left electoral politics, it was a matter of complimenting this guy and say, but we still need electoral politics. Thanks for doing that. You're showing another factor that we have to add to it. But if you don't lead to electoral politics, somebody can go into office electorally and tell you've got to shut down your school. So there is a balance there. But what I'm saying is we have to change. As Donald pointed that out, you can't keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. When Jack speaks about that protest, just don't buy the insurance, just don't pay the bill. After all, sometimes paying the bill kills you. If you have to pay the corporation and not eat, or pay the corporation and not there for your kids, what's the difference? Maybe try something else. I get it. John, come on in. And then maybe sometime I'll get to the actual program. Come on in, John.
Oh, yeah. I just wanted to say, you're absolutely right. Unbridled capitalism just leads to two classes, the fabulously rich and then the people we're all peasants. We're living in this rentier economy. And it's been said, years ago, and nothing has changed. Last century we had the New Deal that tried to, do something about that. And actually, we had the biggest growth in the middle class and in the working class, in the living standards of the working class. And that's because capitalism was bridled, and I don't. We have to understand these things and not let our eyes roll over when people bring up, economics, because it really is simplistic thinking. Milton Friedman, he was just an absolute idiot, really.
Amen.
He took that theory to Chile and basically trashed one of the oldest democracies in the world next to our own. And I know people who had lived there. It was a horror. People were so afraid to even mention, anything about politics. Even in small towns and whatnot, there was a secret police, people would be disappeared, things like that. And now that's happening here. And that was the play of the elites in this country. And now they're applying it to us,
right.
And we're not going to escape unless we make a claim. Nothing changes unless we make a claim. And
John.
I was really bowled over and surprised that Omar Sata became the candidate for the Democratic Party. He's a Democratic socialist, but he is going to run against Frey, who was a corporate Democrat imported. I call him, a carpetbagger from D.C. And he really ruined the trajectory, the political trajectory of this city. And it was because he had the backing of very wealthy people, and it's still going to be a fight anyway. Mm-hmm. But, greed is not good. People who are Christian cannot say that. You cannot say greed is good, avarice is good. This is wrong. And I gotta
go, John. But you're actually right. And let me just say this to the Christians that support Trump likes and otherwise, right? They've sold out Jesus Christ. They're nothing more than the Judas that. Absolutely so. And any Trump supporting Christian wants to call and complain about what I'm saying, please feel free. I will be civil with you, but I want you to tell me what in your mind, what in your Bible told you that wasn't equivalent to what Judas did to Jesus Christ. Anyway, thank you. What you did to the United States of America, that wasn't equivalent to what Judas did to Jesus Christ. Thank you very much, John. I want to try to get one video in today that's important about the healthcare piece, and then all the calls can come in that want to come in. But I want to get this piece out. Here we go. I think it's ready to go. Ahora mismo. Ahora. Of course, this is not a surprise. We told everybody that when the big, beautiful bill, aka the big, ugly bill came about, that it was going to affect poor people. It's going to affect middle class people. It's going to affect people more so than they believe. And most of those people that it will affect are MAGA Republicans. Those people who are dependent on either Medicaid or Obamacare or the Medicaid expansion to the Affordable Care Act. Those are the products that MAGA uses more so than anybody else. They just many times don't know it because in Kentucky, it used to be called Connect. In other places, it's called different names because they were running away from putting Obama's name on it in these red states so that people would actually get it. Well, I want you to listen to what's going to happen next year. Or actually, it's going to start in, I believe, November when the new tables come out. Check this out. We'll take it on the other side.
Healthcare coverage is about to cost more, and not just for some of the Medicaid recipients. For anyone on the ACA, premiums could spike as well. Joining us now, NBC News health and medical reporter Berkeley Lovelace Jr. So explain it to me.
Yeah, so ACA has not gotten as much attention as Medicaid this year, but for millions of people who rely on it, they could be seeing big changes next year. So starting next year, over 20 million people could see a sharp increase in their premiums. And that's because the tax credits that people rely on to afford coverage are set to expire at the end of this year. So these tax credits are used for a lot of middle class families. And on top of that, insurers are also planning these huge premium spikes for next year. And so what that means for families is they could be paying twice as much as they do now. So a family of three making around $110,000 a year could see their premiums jump from around $700 or $800 a month to more than $1,400 a month. Now, Congress could extend these tax credits, but experts I spoke with said that's very unlikely. Right now, President Donald Trump has not indicated any support for the ACA, and Republicans in Congress have also said that they don't support it as well. And so if these expire, as many as 4 million people could lose their coverage next year. And Katie, this is on top of the millions of people who are expected to lose coverage through the Medicaid cuts as well.
Let me just underscore
a lot to look forward to. Yeah.
Let me underscore just the numbers here. A family of three earning $110,000 enrolled in the Silver ACA plan, not the highest one. In 2025, paying $779. In 2026, next year, could be paying $1,446 to $1,662. So that's a doubling of the healthcare premium. And that is a big number for a family making $110,000 a year, a family of three. That's a huge budget item.
Yeah, and families I've spoken with have said that they will not be able to afford this come next year. Some are looking for other options. They may have to move to a high deductible plan. And so these are plans with lower monthly premiums, but they don't cover as much. And it takes a lot more money for coverage to kick in. Some families really just don't know what they're going to do. They're going to have to make cuts on groceries and other items that they need.
So there you go. A lot of people are going to see skyrocketing insurance rates, and a lot of them are going to do without. Who do you think they're going to blame? Well, I tell you what, if Democrats and progressives aren't preparing for the shock so that as soon as it drops, they come out with, this is what we were warning about, and this is why we must correct it in 2026. I mean, the scripts are already written. The scripts for 2026 is written if we want to hold it by the horns and hammer it home day in and day out and stay on the offensive and let them know, these guys, we told them what was going to be happening. They knew what was going to be happening, but they cared too little about you because they thought you weren't that smart. In fact, they just about said it. They just about want you to believe that they could take out $1 trillion almost out of Medicaid, and somehow you'll be okay. They'll take out over $200 million out of SNAP, and somehow you're going to be okay. But, their guys are going to be okay because they have recovered in taxes. These wealthy people, millions of dollars. Some of them have returned or are recovering tens of millions of dollars that they won't pay in taxes. All that you are paying to them. By you not getting health care, you paid them. By you not getting your food subsidies, you're paying them. Remember that. Donald Trump took food out of your kid's mouth. Donald Trump took your health care. And to some, Donald Trump would have taken your life when it's lost because you didn't have health care. Remember that. It is time to stop being gullible. It is time to understand what they've done to you. Now, I want to put a caveat out here, right? The immediate effects of the big, beautiful bill when it goes into action for healthcare, it's going to immediately cut the healthcare of, maybe 15 to 20 million people, right? Those are the people that are on Medicaid, and it'll dump the subsidies for Obamacare, which means a lot of those people simply won't be able to afford their health care. So that's anywhere between 15 and 20 million people. Let's stop right there for a second. Now, another set of people it's going to affect are those, because if you cut the amount of people buying healthcare, if you take out 20-something million people out of healthcare, Humana and Cigna and all these other companies are going to have to increase their prices as well, because there are less people in the pool putting their money together to give the sick healthcare. So for those who think, well, if it affects 20 million people, that's less than 10% of the population. That's not how it works. It also affects you because you drag 20 million people out of paying insurance. The insurance for everybody else has to go up, right? Because people are not getting less sick. People are not getting less unhealthy. All's happening is our government is paying less money into the insurance system. That means everybody else's prices go up. So if you think you're going to get off scot-free, dream on. And then there are a whole lot of other negatives in the bill that will directly affect you. You cannot take away trillions of dollars out of the economy and think it's not going to make a difference. And let's not even talk tariffs. Even if something is costing you, every item is costing you 3 cents more, the aggregate, the cumulative amount of money taken out of your spending power and going into the coffers of the Treasury to pay the rich people will affect you and affect the productivity, it will affect the speed of the economy. And in doing so, it'll slow down the economy, which it has already started to do. That's why we are currently likely with a negative GDP. And the problem is, again, critical thinking. We don't do a lot of that. Jimmy, come on in.
Egberto, we need to talk a lot more about specific things that are going on. Yesterday, the stock market hit a new high. Everybody could be saying that. If you save money, you can buy some stock and make some extra money for your family. And Lena Hidalgo yesterday wants to raise taxes by 1 penny to provide food for some type of children's program. We need to find out, is that a good program or is that not a good program? And they also showed on the news this weekend that Los Angeles port, which brings in 40% of our imports in this country, the ships are way down. There's a lot less ships they're coming in than there used to be. I imagine that's because they don't want to pay these high tariffs.
Not only that, first of all, let me just say, Jimmy, you're absolutely right, and thank you for bringing that up. The Lena Hidalgo penny tax is a darn good thing. Actually, I think it could be a bit more. A lot of this is going to have to cover for some of the losses that we're getting from, again, the big, beautiful bill as well. The item about the stock market is exactly what we spoke about earlier. Maybe I should say that a bit clearer. Remember in the earlier discussion, I spoke about the compartmentalization of corporations, which is equivalent to the stock. And yes, those are going up. And guess why those are going up? Those are going up. Again, the people that do the least work profit from that. Now, I want to do a little pushback on you, Jimmy, because I've heard that before. Hey, all you have to do is take your extra money and put it into the stock market, and then you make a little bit of money for your people. Let me give you a number, brother. And it goes like this. I had the number. It's 22%. What is 22 minus 68% of Americans don't have any disposable income. 68% of Americans. Think about that.
That may be true, but they may also have $30,000 in credit card debt. People need to learn to pay these credit cards off every month so they don't face this 22% interest rate on their debt.
Again, brother Jimmy, I love you, brother, but here is the thing. There are some people that are using their credit cards as an extension to their wage. I mean, they're in an impossible situation, but they have to use their credit cards to make ends meet. And I'm not talking about people who are wasting money. I have friends who the stopgap measure for groceries that week is their credit card. The problem is a lot of us aren't rubbing shoulders with people that are genuinely in dire straits. Continue, my brother.
People can spend their money more wisely. Another line, I have a T-shirt that says, "Be a kind human." I wore it to a hardware store yesterday, and one of the employees saw it and said, "Boy, I wish you'd tell that to my boss."
But you know what, Jimmy, here's the deal. You're a kind guy, right? You're a real kind. Yeah. Unfortunately, and not only that, you are a responsible guy. The problem is when you see the world through the way you are. You follow what I mean by that?
Yeah, somewhat, yeah.
And what I mean by that is the following. I know a lot of good people, a lot of people that are not only good people doing well financially, but they can only see the world through how they are. Good people. But the problem is you are not representative of the whole. You are, I want to say like I don't want it to be used wrong by saying cut above, but that's the best words I can think of right now. You do good things. You are responsible, etc. Unfortunately, a lot of people weren't educated enough to be the type, have the responsibility that you talk about. After all, they elected Donald Trump. Okay, there are so many things that what we have to do is inform. And when you call here, that's what you're also doing, informing. But hey, buddy, my lines are full. Give me a quick closer.
Yeah, we all need to pay attention to what's going on in the Texas legislature, the U.S. Congress, the Harris County, and the city council, and they're making the laws, so we need to pay attention to that.
Let me just tell you that I've already put out that yesterday you suggested that I get Wu. I've already put the contact out, and I hope to get that soon, brother. All right.
Good deal. Yeah, Gene Wu is a very good Democratic member of Congress. He's a leader of the Democratic members up there, and he's always working on very important issues. So
will do, brother.
He's up to.
Thank you, brother. You'll hear from him. All right.
Thank you. Good deal. Yeah, right down. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, brother. Let's go to Derek. Come on in, Derek.
Hey, good morning, Brother Egberto. I want to say this very quickly. You doing right, brother, by telling people just because the stock market has gone up, be very cautious, because what goes up is going to eventually go back down. You all who are making money off the stock market right now, make sure you're taking that money out as well and put aside against the day of want. It's going to always be a day of want, and you want to make sure you don't leave your money in there, because it's going to crash eventually. So do not be wise with that. And the other thing I want to say too, brother, is that on yesterday, we actually had a profound conversation. When you go back and read back and listen to it, because I brought up about the forces of nature, then you also brought up about policy. The beauty in that conversation yesterday is that, have you noticed that everywhere where these natural disasters is taking place, it's revealing something underhanded that was going on that the people was not even aware of?
Amen.
What we seen in Kerrville.
Yes.
So, and lastly, I want to say this about with the religious thing, like you were saying earlier, brothers and sisters, I want you all to be wise. And I'm going to tell you where you can find America in the Bible, because most of you pastors, they don't even know it's there, but because they can't tell you. But America is styled as the modern Rome, modern Egypt. She's also styled as the mystery Babylon. She's also mentioned as the great harlot that committed fornication with all the nations. That's your Statue of Liberty. And she's also styled as the eagle.
Thank you, brother. Okay, have a good one, my brother. Let's go to brother Augie. Augie, how you doing, sir? Great KPFT politics and rights supporter. Talk to me, my brother.
Okay, well, like Elon Musk and Trump and all that, they say, and Republicans for the longest time have said we need to run government like we run business, and that's by saving money. But businesses don't stay in business by saving money. They stay by bringing in revenue, which is what happened in the 50s and 60s when we taxed the rich. That's what they keep giving this lie. We got to save money. No, we don't. We got to spend. We got to bring in revenue by taxing the upper class. And I remember when I worked for Southwestern Bell in the 70s and 80s, they took care of the employees and their customers, and their stocks went up and down. But nowadays, these business owners, they want to have a profit every year, year after year after year, no matter what. And they stress out their employees by trying to save money on them. And then all of a sudden, like Mitt Romney, when he made his money by buying companies, stealing their cash reserves, stealing their pension fund, and then closing the company up and firing all the employees. That's not a good business plan.
Guess I hate to put it this way, but I can justify it. It's legalized theft. That is one of the major parts of our economic system. Legalized theft. But Augie, I got 6 minutes to go, and I have to finish up all these other calls. So I'm not managing my calls too well today. But thank you so kindly, my brother.
Yeah. And like you said, about they think they're Christians and they pass the 10 Commandments, but that's the 10 deadly sins, like I said earlier. Then you look at the Beatitudes if you don't want to be Christians. But thanks for all you do.
Thank you, my brother. Let's go to Bruce. Come on in, Bruce. You're on,
morning.
Bruce. You're on.
Okay, good morning. Yeah, I have a T-shirt that says the universe is made of protons, neutrons, electrons, and morons. And the T-shirt is about pseudoscience. I hate pseudoscience. Anyway, I get approached from people on both sides, occasionally from both sides of the political spectrum, going, boy, you got those other guys nailed right. Everybody's calling everybody a moron. But anyway, the reason I called is I went and got my oil change Saturday. It went up from $35 to $51.95. And I told them, I said, I've been with you for 13 years. I have a herniated disc in my back, but I will find a way to get under my car and do it myself from now on. You won't see me again. So I went to get a barbecue sandwich down the street, and it went up from $9 to $11.95. I walked out. So I went to HEB, and my sister doesn't drive anymore, and asked me to pick some currants up, which are basically golden raisins. $4.98 for a little bag of currants. So we're already starting to see, it's going to get worse. We're already starting to see price increases. And for somebody who's on Social Security like myself, every price increase hurts. Anyway, I love your show today. You're very informative. I learned a lot. All right, I'm done.
Thank you, my brother. Before I go to the calls, I want to read out a few things. Great commentary. We have March KJ. It says, Egberto, old Trump is just a showpiece. The billionaires are doing this. John Davis says, yes, Republican Party believes in the Scrooge motto, but of interest as well. John A says, John Davis says, yes, but they can't pay their living expenses. They do pay what they can. Exactly. And John A says, I knew I needed to save when I first started working. Took me 10 years before I could begin saving. Saving can't be done if you do not have enough income. Any little hiccup was a problem financially back then when now the money things change. Again, that's what happens. Right now, people are living paycheck to paycheck. It's real, and it's not necessarily their fault. Let's see. John Davis says, love your show. We need to mass produce in our executive orders when we are back in the White House. It's never happening, says that. All right, let's go to Tag. Tag, try to give it to me in about less than 60 seconds. Go ahead, brother.
Hello, Egberto. How you doing?
Doing great, brother. Talk to me.
Saw an article on TV last night about the new student loan programs, which has been dramatically cut. There's almost just a couple now. So that was fascinating. You borrow money this year.
You're breaking up, Tag.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, I can hear you now. Go ahead.
Oh, if you borrow money for student loans this year, they're going to give you a guaranteed payoff at 25 years. If you make your payments for 25 years, they'll pay that off. It will be right back to that same situation that Biden was going through, trying to get people's loans paid off that the federal government had guaranteed a 10-year payoff, and everybody complained about. So I think it's funny how these things come up. People don't know it. And then when the federal government to pay it off, there's a bunch of controversy. So I just wanted to bring that up about the student loans. So
thank you so kindly for that, Tag. We'll expand on that more another day, but I'm out of time. Thank you, brother. Let's go.
Thank you.
You too, my brother. Brian, come on in.
Yeah, well, it seems to me like you think that everything was fine and rosy under Biden. Now everything is just everybody's in totally debt. Everybody is wrong. I mean, what's your standard here? Is it terrible under Trump right now?
It's terrible under Trump, right? Look, sir. Let me just tell you, Brian, you never heard me under Biden said things were great. Things have not been great since the late 60s, the early 70s. Things were really improving. Donald Trump came and changed the trajectory because he put capitalism through supply side economics on steroids. I know don't quite believe it, but that's it. You would never hear me talk about any administration since Reagan being great. The last great administration, in my opinion, was the one who created the working on a great society, and that is Johnson. Okay.
No, then are you calling me brainwashed? I mean, is that?
No. Wait a minute. I'm not. No. I'm not calling you brainwashed. I'm saying you are brainwashed. And if you want us to itemize the reasons why, I can do that. I just don't have the time right now. So what I'm going to tell you is if you call earlier, we can go over item after item, what I call brainwashing. So let's do that another day. I got to go to the studio. Thank you, brother. Studio. Oops. Did I lose the studio? Okay. Mayana, close me out. You, Mayana, and Jack.
I was going to say, let Jack do that because he has a lot of thoughts today.
Okay.
Well, what we can do is we could, with our money, we can have a healthcare protest.
Yes, we can. I love that. What else, Jack? What else can we do?
Well, keep your money in currency instead of on online.
Amen. But anyway, thank you for that, Jack. Thank you, Mayana, for being here. Thank you Howard. Thank you for Howard inside his cubbyhole, making sure all these things operate. Anyway, folks, I want to thank all of you for being here, and I love you all. And look, love humanity, man. So when I say that, I mean it. Okay. You hear me go after Brian a whole lot because Brian go after me. But you know, I think we're all essential. Okay, we're all essential. You can get the rest of the show at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. You can also write me directly at kpft@politicsdoneright.com. Never stop thinking. Always work on critical thinking. Never accept the word of anybody, not even mine. Okay. The truth of the matter is when we are conversing is when we are making things happen. When we are opening our minds to different thought processes, that's how we get the best. Anyway, my name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you know how I end this baby. I am what? Out. Support for this show, Politics Done Right, comes from politicsdoneright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It. As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom. It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto Willies. Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.